In order to really break down all the situations that Mr. Guile can set up in neutral as part of his zoning, I would have to do some more research and watch some more of the professional players, because I haven't kept up with Guile as much. But in terms of what tools that Falke has, especially compared to some other characters, to go about dealing with his offense, as well as identifying where you can break his... For Guile, you need to think of it as, like, as once you block something, or once you block a projectile or anything like that, you are caught in his rhythm, and you have to find a way to escape that rhythm before you can start playing again. So what I mean is, if you block, say, a light sonic boom at this range, there's absolutely no way that you'll be able to get a jump in before he can anti-air you, if he throws another boom. Now, it's entirely dependent on the range and which strength of boom that he throws out. See, I have him throwing the light one, and then yes, the medium one, and he can throw the probably throw the heavy one immediately after that if you block the medium one, and then you won't be able to jump in. As far as I remember, that's the basic sequence. And the reason why is, once you start blocking these at a certain range, you're just going to be trapped in Guile's rhythm, because there's not going to be a point in time where you're not either still stuck in block stun from one of his projectiles when he throws his next projectile, like so, or a time when, like, there's not a projectile on screen aiding him. And he'll always be able to anti-air you if you try to break that cycle. So you have to find ways to break the cycle, and or break his rhythm so that he doesn't have a projectile and he's not at a frame advantage, and then you can start taking, like, your actual gambles to get over his booms, like so. So the way most characters can break the cycles of, or break out of Guile's pattern in neutral, because usually he'll do this pattern, basically light, then medium, then heavy at this range, and he'll always, you'll just be stuck there, and you'll just be constantly pushed backwards. Unless you make it a point to micro walk between the hits without getting hit by the projectiles. But you can actually alter your frame advantage or disadvantage by moving forwards, even if you're going to get hit by the boom. Usually, you're at a better frame advantage if you choose, if the closer you are, rather than whether or not you hit or get blocked, or hit or get blocked by the boom. So say, me blocking this medium one puts me at a worse position in terms of frames and ability to get in on Guile than me dashing into this one, because I'm getting hit sooner at closer to him. He has less of a frame advantage after that. Now, you don't want to be dashing into projectiles all the time and taking that damage, because that's how Guile's going to win. But those are the options available to you to mix up his rhythm. And then once he's pushed you to full screen and he's throwing the mediums or the heavy booms at this range, then he can set up his V skills or do all of his slower things, or set up a light boom and then follow it in and use that to take away his ground control. And if you just let him loop that over and over and keep that control constantly, then if you're never breaking out of that cycle of his plus frames off of his projectiles or his ability to anti-air you, then you're never going to be able to do anything, and you're just going to get steamrolled. Actually, as far as I can tell, I've been testing it for a while, because I'm not entirely sure on the specifics of which booms that Guile can do to get guaranteed anti-airs. It seems as though that so long as you block his medium one, that, like, anything that's clearly faster than the light one, which is very, very slow as far as projectiles go, if you block it at that range or farther, or at that range or closer, you'll be able to jump it, and he won't be able to anti-air you before you get a jump in. He might be able to do the crouch jab if that happens to beat one of your anti-airs, and he'll probably be able to block it in time, but it doesn't seem like he can get out a flash kick at time. I don't know. I'm really, really bad at doing charge inputs, so I might just be, like, messing it up every time. So yeah, it seems like if you're outside the range where he'll be able to anti-air you with the crouching hard kick, which happens if you're, like, very far away. Like, I don't know exactly where, but it's really difficult to set up on a recording rather than doing it based on when you can see the opponent jumping in on you, but whatever. But yeah, at this range, like, if you're blocking the light sonic boom, you want to be able to identify that you're blocking the light one. If it's happening too close for you to see which boom it is, you can usually identify it about this range, whether it's the light one or not, because it'll be much slower than the others that he can throw. But the light one is the one that he'll usually be able to, if he's about this far out or further. Yeah, this far out or further, he'll be able to throw a boom and then anti-air you. Any closer than that, you'll be able to get a jump in on his next boom if he throws another one. And any further than that, like I said, if you're blocking the light one, he will definitely be able to anti-air you. If you're blocking the medium or heavy one, you have to be significantly further away. So, as for Falke's tools for beating these options, she has... Cannon is not very good in this matchup, honestly. You won't be using it very much, even though it does go underneath projectiles. You can technically, like, whiff punish him for doing, say, the V-skill, but you won't be able to do it fast enough on reaction to be able to actually beat him out of the V-skill. And if you're not doing it on reaction to that move, you're just kind of giving him ground to move in. You won't be able to punish any of his fireballs really on reaction with this, and the slower ones or the V-skill ones will still hit you anyways after you do this on the recovery of the Cannon N, so it's not a very good move to use in this matchup. The only situations that I'd recommend using the Cannon N is when he's set up like a slower boom and he's moving in behind it. Like, say, his V-Trigger 1 booms, or his light boom, or his light V-skill boom. If he's moving forwards right behind it as a shield, you have all characters have a variety of options that they could choose to try and outwit him in that situation, even though he does have the advantage, because he has a projectile going alongside him. You can, if you predict that he's going to jump in or anything, well, you can jump over it. You can, if he's predicting that, he'll probably go to air like this. That's an option select, or that's something a lot of Guile players do, is as soon as the V-skill boom is like right here about to hit you, they go to air like that, and then there's still plus if you block the boom. But they've hit you if you try to jump over it. So you can do a predictive, like anything like that. You can do an air throw. But Falke, since she can go underneath projectiles, she has one more option to try and outwit him in that situation rather than just having to eat the pressure. Other than that, this is not a very good move to use in this matchup. In fact, the Panzer isn't very good to use either. The only situation where it's guaranteed to hit would be if you're whiff punishing the V-skill boom, but once again, Guile will still be able to get the V-skill boom out before you've actually done anything, so... And then, I was trying to block there, but see, the Panzer actually has more recovery than the Cannon N. So you can do that and then block, but even then, that's only if you're just willing to take that little bit of damage that you're dealing to Guile and nothing else, because he's still at the frame advantage at the end of that situation because you still have to block the Sonic Cross. And the Panzer just has so much recovery. Like, in terms of every character's ways to break this cycle of plus frames that Guile can put you into, obviously the first one is to be aware of which Sonic Boom you're actually blocking and at what range. The most important one to recognize is that you're blocking the light one. If you block the light one, you probably won't be able to do anything afterwards. You'll have to respect whatever action he does next. Or try and outwit him even though you're at the disadvantage. Like doing something like that. Or trying to bait out an anti-air. And yeah, Falke has tons of great options for baiting out Guile's flash kicks and everything. But Guile doesn't necessarily have to use flash kicks, it's just his best anti-air that has the most invincibility. That will catch him, that will get a knockdown if it hits his flash kick. Although you have to do it early enough that you won't actually get hit by the flash kick. But, and it's not that risky to do so long as you're spacing it about, like, that range. It's pretty fine to do in this matchup. You don't want to do it all the time, because it is still really punishable. But Guile doesn't have a lot of sliding moves that he can use to get underneath it, or parries to go through it. So as long as you're not doing it at this range, jump over it. So long as you're stopping his ability to jump over it by doing it close enough, especially if he's already stuck sort of doing something, it should be fine. And you can bait out his anti-airs in that fashion. And you, of course, have your dive kick, which is specifically made to beat out those kinds of, or bait out those kinds of anti-airs. You gotta do it pretty early, though. So yeah, but in terms of the cycle of pressure that Guile can put you into, if he just wants to keep lobbing light sonic boom after light sonic boom, and if you're, he'll always be able to anti-air you if you're trying to jump after you block one of the light sonic booms. So, but you don't want to have to block the next light sonic boom at that range, because then you're just going to be stuck in the exact same situation over and over again. So he can either just continue to push you back with heavier and heavier sonic booms, although, like I said, if you're blocking the medium sonic boom at this range, it's probably fine to jump in, and you'll be able to... I mean, obviously, if he doesn't throw another boom, he'll still be able to anti-air you, so that's always a guess you have to take. But in order to return to a situation in which you can make that guess, you first have to not be blocking the light sonic boom. So if you block the medium one at this range, you can, if you want to, try and take that gamble, and you won't just be guaranteed to get anti-aired. That being said, if you force yourself into a situation in which you're closer, you'll be able to break the cycle by changing how plus he is. So, dashing into one of his booms, so long as you're not dashing at a range that's close enough for him to combo off of it with the crouching heavy kick, then you might be able to, if he thinks that he's at a frame advantage that he's not at. This is usually something you want to do from further away, like at the ranges where he eventually can throw another safe sonic boom after you block the medium or heavy sonic booms at this range out, this far away from him. At that point, it's beneficial to like dash into them, like so, and then you can change how plus he thinks he is by what distance he thinks that he's thrown it at you. And so like this far away, a medium sonic boom would be plus, and he could throw a heavy sonic boom completely safely, and if you jumped after blocking it, you get anti-aired for free. However, say if you dashed into the medium sonic boom, and then jumped over, and he thought he was safe to throw another sonic boom, he actually would not be, and you would be able to get a jump in on it. So dashing into it is one way that you can that all characters can break the cycle. Some characters, depending on their dashes, are better at this than others. See, because Falke's dash is pretty fast at the startup, and it just has a lot of recovery at the end. So long as you forward dash into the sonic boom, it's actually pretty decent at doing this. And you can break that cycle. Like so. The other way that every single character can break the cycle of pressure, especially off of light sonic booms, is by neutral jumping. because then you're not losing any ground by back jumping, and you're not getting anti-aired by forward jumping. Neutral jumping you can do on reaction to him throwing another boom, and depending on what range he's at, he can still anti-air you in certain situations. I mean, it's probably a safe bet to try and do like a jumping medium kick or an air throw, just so that you're putting something out there in case he tries to air you as an anti-air, because he won't be able to flash kick you. I would recommend not sticking out the jumping medium punch for this purpose, because he'll still be able to flash kick you. Like so. And by neutral jumping, especially neutral jump, you can return to neutral, sort of, because until his sonic boom leaves the screen entirely, he won't be able to throw another one. So you still have to play footsies with him. Like, it's not safe by any means, but you can at least escape the cycle, and then he will not be able to put you into that cycle until he manages to lock you down with another light sonic boom at about this range. Falke, having a variety of aerial maneuvering options, has many more ways other than just plain neutral jumping to escape this and break the cycle at a bunch of different ranges. She has her air fireball, which you can sort of safely do at about this range. And she has her dive kick, which is really good for maneuverability, and it will ever so slightly pause you in the air. So, in situations where you would jump backwards and still get hit, you can avoid it, like so. I wouldn't necessarily rely on doing these maneuvering options too much from really far away. I mean, like, you don't necessarily want to be jumping in with, like, the big jumping medium punch every single time, because it could just get anti-aired. But you don't want to be throwing out these, like, the air fireball and the dive kick all the time when you're jumping in over his fireballs from this far away, just because both of them can easily be jumped over or jumped in on. Falke's other method for breaking the cycle is the Guile, which is actually really good for breaking the cycle. If you're at about this range, he can set up his supposedly safe next sonic boom, and depending on what range you're at, you can either outright hit him and punish him for his next sonic boom, or you can just eliminate the sonic boom. Like so. Because Falke's fireball recovers faster than every other standing fireball in the game, or at least her Guile recovers faster than every other fireball in the game, you can use it to eliminate one, and then use that to at least change up the frame advantage. You'll probably never be able to shoot it down in such a way that it won't be safe for Guile to just throw another one that he'll be able to anti-air if you jump over it, but you can at least do that, and you can poke with it at about this range, and it'll beat a lot of his footsie buttons and his ability to throw light sonic boom. Because he'll have to, at some point, in order to get you back into the cycle of pressure or the cycle of zoning, he'll need to get you to block a light sonic boom at about this range. So you can, but that's the optimal range for you to use your Guile, so you can constantly stop him from doing that by shooting the Guile, which will beat out his sonic booms. Like so. If you're making a hard bet that he's definitely going to follow up with another sonic boom, and you're at least slightly close enough, you can do a raw cannonen underneath it to punish it, like so. And that'll avoid you getting pushed back anymore. That'll do a little bit of damage. V-skill is useless. I've already talked about how V-skill is useless, but just know that it's still useless. I mean, you can use... The one benefit of doing V-skill is that it's also weirdly an anti-air. So, you can do certain things like, The problem with V-skill is that you won't be able to react to things and then throw it out. So it's like, oh, Guile throws a sonic boom, you do the V-skill, it's not fast enough and you get beaten out. So you can only do it when you have plenty, like way more than enough space and time to be able to react to it to nullify the projectile, and even then its benefit is non-existent almost. But you can do it to the light sonic boom in like pretty much one situation. So if he gets to throw out his light or his, mainly just his light or his V-skill, sonic boom, and then follow it along, or his baby booms in V-Trigger-1, he'll be able to set up situations where he'll just be able to jump in on you like so. And then, like I said, this is those situations where you'll have to, like, outwit him, even though he has the advantage if you want to escape the situation. Just know that the Cannon will not be, like, have enough projectile invincibility to go underneath, it will barely be able to go underneath one full light sonic boom if you time it just perfectly like that. Otherwise, you'll just stand up into it during the recovery. So that's not the best. But if you're doing it against something else, like, I don't know, it's probably not a good idea to go for it. In very rare situations that usually are incredibly clunky and don't work very well, you can nullify a one-hit projectile while also anti-airing Guile if he tries to jump in or dash in behind it. Like so. Make sure you're not doing it like too early or too close, because you'll just get beaten out on the startup, because the startup for this is terrible and it's a terrible anti-projectile move. But it can do that. Another tool that you should probably use quite a bit is standing hard kick to catch, especially if you're shaking up the timing for his booms. If you're shaking up the timing for his booms by like forward dashing or anything, you can get him to throw out unsafe booms or do things that are minus, and then you can catch him with stuff like that. So yeah, for beating out the projectiles or for taking trades on the projectiles. Standing hard kick is probably one of the best normals to go for. Because Falke will usually, even if it trades like that, Falke will always be plus in those exchanges unless she's getting knocked down. Which means that if he tries to throw another boom, it's not legitimate. Like so. So you can take the Panzer if you're in V-Trigger-1. You'll usually get hit by booms. If he's doing like the V-skill boom, it'll still come out and you'll still get hit by it and knocked down for the same amount of time that he'll be. So the Panzer's okay, like in this matchup. I mean, you'll probably want to be converting off of like forward hard punch if you're not taking crush counters by hitting him out of the projectile startup. One benefit that you'll have is you'll be able to do the Jaeger really easily. Also, some of you probably already know this, but I still need to point this out. So people have complained, and they are certainly right to complain about this, but there's a glitch of an interaction with Falke's Kugel and how it interacts with the Sonic Cross. So I talked about how she's really good at blowing up his regular booms at this range, because she'll be able to eliminate them or even get hits on Guile because of her projectiles having more hits. Like so. However, for the Sonic Cross, if you shoot it, you'll always, always, always get knocked down and hit by it. There's no range that you can hit it from at which it won't just hit you. The reason why this is, and you can't actually see this very well based on this interaction, but the reason why this is because the projectile, Falke's projectile and the Sonic Cross, this happens when you see Urian versus Guile sometimes. I don't know if they've patched it since then, but you would sometimes, if they got into projectile wars, sometimes, just due to the nature, if you've ever programmed, like, say, like, I programmed a first-person, like a really janky first-person shooter, like a couple of years ago, and it's a problem if you're just using basic mathematics to get the bullets to actually hit objects along the path that they're going if they're moving in space in real time, because if the bullets are, say, moving like 20 meters per frame or something, that means that if there's like 20 meters per frame in one frame is 20 meters. So, and it'll only calculate one frame at a time, which is why if there's something that's smaller than 20 meters or anything in between that, if it's moving that fast, it'll literally just skip over it without hitting it. So what's happening here is that the Kugel and Sonic Cross are moving too quickly. Mainly the Kugel is moving too quickly, and that is causing it to only one hit of the Kugel is actually landing on the Sonic Cross, and the other two hits of the Kugel are moving through the Sonic Cross too fast, and they're passing through. The two projectiles are passing through, literally just ignoring each other rather than colliding, because they're moving too quickly for their hitboxes to remain for enough frames that they'll hit multiple times. So what's happening here is the Kugel is hitting once and hitting one of the two hits of the Sonic Cross and then continuing to go forwards, and then the second hit of the Sonic Cross is hitting Falke's recovery. And that's why this is happening. So just know that that interaction will happen every single time, and that's not something that you can go for. Close or far up, it doesn't matter. You'll always get hit. So, because of all those things, I would recommend going for V-Trigger 2 in this matchup. One thing, because it's not hard to activate V-Trigger 2. Literally all that needs to happen is for him to throw a Sonic Boom, and then you'll be able to get a free activation. Like so. And one thing is that, like, the pressure and damage of the V-Trigger 1 is fine, but it's like it doesn't give you enough tools in the matchup, and its pressure sequences are very easily V-reversaled. So if Guile's able to get you off of him and return to his projectile-based zoning neutral game that many more times, it'll just be that much harder for you, whereas like V-Trigger 2 is you only have to land enough hits and get in that many times, rather than maintaining your offense once you're already in. Also, because Guile has to charge his flash kicks, he won't be able to immediately anti-air you, even if he can block in time. Once you use the overhead of the V-Trigger 2 in order to once again break that cycle when you block something and then get around his projectiles. So even if he has the time to block, you'll still break that cycle and start to get in on him. In addition, you also get to do stuff like that. Not only can you break his sonic booms, you can also break his sonic booms in such a way that you can cancel them into V-Trigger 2 actions even if you're not hitting Guile. So even at ranges where your Kugel won't be able to, you know, do anything else like that, you'll still be able to get over his sonic booms in such a way. Like, if he throws one, you can break it and then get over his next one in a way that you would not have been able to in V-Trigger 1 or without V-Trigger. But that's just Guile as a zoning character. And once you break the cycle, unless you're getting an actual clean punish on one of his projectiles, you're still having to play neutral against him, or once you break the cycle, all that means is that it's unsafe for him to throw another projectile. But not, well, it's a risk for him to throw another projectile. So once you break the cycle where he can safely throw projectile after projectile, then you still have to play neutral with him and play footsies with him like every other character. So, we also have to talk about Falke's options against his attacks. Crouching medium punch is no problem. It gets beaten by most of Falke stuff. Medium kick, hard punch will bully it no problem. Most of Guile's buttons won't necessarily contend with Kugel, that you'll probably be using to snipe out his light sonic booms at that range anyways. So Guile's back hard punch, like most moves that hit pretty high up, is still a problem. It's still capable of... It's pretty whiff punishable, and Falke's standing hard punch will usually win, but it can still be beaten out at most ranges. Like so. But standing hard punch is still actually your best bet, because this will also crush counter like everything else. Medium kick is fine as well. You can just buffer it at this range. And Guile's back hard punch is no threat to this spacing for Kugel. So bot kick, one of the hardest things to deal with. Really fast move. I can't believe they buffed this between versions, but yeah, really fast, far-reaching medium kick, goes over lows. He can combo off of it on counter hit. It's really good. If you're outside the range that it'll hit, it's usually fine. However, it does have tons of range, so that's, you know, a difficult task to ask for. You'll probably be looking for ways to beat this out before it actually gets started, but rather than whiff punishing it, because it has so much range. This is another thing that bullying with a light kick, or simply taking that ideal spacing in which you won't be able to necessarily hit with it, and then whiff punishing it will come into play. Medium kick won't really beat Guile's upside down kick, but it's fine. So long as you're like looking for it, you can usually just poke most of his stuff out with light kick. And medium punch is actually pretty good against a lot of Guile's buttons, like Guile's Sobot kick and his upside down kick. You can usually tag the tail end of it because they stick out for so long that you can just pick up a whiff punish right there. So long as you're outside the range where it'll connect, most things will whiff punish his forward hard punch, although if you're looking for speed, it's probably medium kick is the most likely thing that will tag it before it goes away. If it goes over your head, you're probably going to have to react with crouching hard kick, or quickly stand up for, or crouching medium kick, or crouching medium punch, or quickly stand up for a medium kick. Standing medium kick. And that's mostly it. I mean, besides just researching, if you see a Guile do like a certain thing or a certain loop or something, you'll probably, and you're getting trapped by it, or you keep getting anti-aired when you think you shouldn't be, or anything like that, it's good to take those specific situations to the lab to see where you can break out, or where you can punish him, or you can escape getting put into a cycle of plus frames. But other than that, Guile's just a really strong character that's pretty hard to deal with. So, Falke having a lot of different ways to change your momentum in the air is pretty useful against Guile, especially one that goes straight down, which is better than most dive kick characters in terms of baiting out anti-airs. But yeah, that should be the most of it.